Okay, so we've got quite a few people with us now. I think, Deallusrwydd, shall we kick off here? Brilliant.
That'd be great. Thanks, Andy.
So I just want to say, start off by saying welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today for what I hope will be a very interesting and, dare I say, exciting round of chats that we will have this morning. So where this came from was a little while ago. There was an AI special interest group meeting where people discussed the fact that they would like to have a little bit of engagement with the funders to work out what kind of funding opportunities were out there and available to this group. And that led the team at the Life Sciences Hub to put together this Funding for AI and Digital Innovation event today. And it's been structured in such a way that hopefully what it allows us to do is to really kind of get together and chat to the funder. So it's not an event just where we receive lots of information. Hopefully it'll turn out to be something with a really nice two-way dialogue that really ends up with the delegates leaving here today with a lot clearer idea of what kinds of opportunities could be available for them. So before we get into the day proper, there's a couple of things that I want to highlight. Number one is that we are going to be recording the presentations. So if anybody doesn't want to be on those recordings when they are shared a little bit widely afterwards, maybe you'd want to switch off your cameras and switch off your microphones while those presentations are happening. When we go into the breakout rooms, those parts won't be recorded, so there you'll be kind of much more freer to kind of express yourselves and have your cameras on, etc. So this morning we've got some really good talks from Rashad Ismail from Business Wales, and we've got Craig Sharp and Vanessa Davis on Horizon Europe. They're quite short presentations, so we're not going to have questions during the presenting time. Rather, the way that today is going to work is we're going to hear from some people, they're going to give the presentations, and then we're going to split you out into some breakout rooms where you can then ask the questions that have occurred to you over those presentations or other questions that you might have. The way that's going to work is we're going to split you into two random groups. You're going to go into two different rooms, and one of the presenters will be in each of those rooms. You'll have a chat with that presenter for 15 minutes, and then the presenters will swap. So the other presenter then will come into your room and the presenter will move to the other room. So you get a chance over those 15 minutes to speak to all of the presenters that we have today. So, Alan, I believe also you have a slide with some rules for the day that you would like to present. Would you want to show that now?
Yeah, I think you kind of covered them. Just
okay.
Then, I think you might not have seen them when you presenting, but they're up on the screen asking people just to keep their mics off when they can.
Okay, brilliant, excellent. So during the presentations, you might find that it is a burning question that you want to answer. Feel free to drop that into the chat. Because then the facilitators in each of those breakout rooms will use those informations to stimulate some of the conversation as well. So apart from that, I think there's one other thing that Deallusrwydd was really keen that we kind of started off today with, and that's a little bit of a poll. So we'd like to start off by inviting you to write in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, how aware or informed do you feel about relevant funding opportunities at the moment? So it's not a scientific poll, it's just there really for us to kind of test the waters. And I believe Alan has actually put the question, probably articulated better than I just did it now, in the chat for you to see as well. It'll allow us to kind of test the water and see how much understanding you feel you have at the moment, and then hopefully by the end of today you'll be feeling a little bit more confident, and hopefully you'll feel that that number is a little bit higher than it is right now. And I think that is probably enough for me drawing on to introduce this session, and it would be nice now to hand over to Rashad to talk a little bit about what Business Wales has to offer. Over to you, Rashad.
Thank you for that. Just pulling up the slides. I'm hoping that everybody could see this. My name is Rashad Ismail. I work for Business Wales as a relationship manager. I just wanted to give you an overview of what Business Wales is and how we could help you out. So Business Wales is a Welsh Government initiative. It's a fully funded service by the Welsh Government. We support people who are looking to start up in business, those who are already established in business and are looking to grow as well. So wherever you are within that business cycle, I'm sure that Business Wales is able to help you out. In terms of the level of support that we provide, we tend to tailor that support towards the client, towards the business, ensuring that they get the best support and advice business-wise. Just an overview of what Business Wales does. We provide general business advice. The business advisors are very experienced. They tend to have varying degrees of backgrounds, for example, from banking, accountancy, legal, and so forth and so on. And what we try to do is match the actual client and the client's need with the appropriate advisor. Additionally, there's tendering advice. So if you are looking to go for a tender or write up a tendering process, then there is some support available for that, either on a workshop basis or on a one-to-one basis. Also, equality, diversity and HR advice, environmental management, sustainability and efficiency advice. More importantly as well, particularly for these kind of businesses that we are talking about potentially today, international trade support as well. We can provide intelligence in various markets abroad. We could provide you with leads. We could help you with funded trips abroad to either meet up with potential clients or distributors and so forth and so on. Skills Gateway, as well as business mentoring. So we match mentees with experienced mentors in that field of business as well, in order to maximize the support. Online support, including workshops online, covering a range of aspects, as well as experienced advisors that would actually provide, like I said, either face-to-face support or online support, or over the telephone, or a combination of, dependent on your requirements and your preferences. In terms of today's session, what I wanted to say was really just to highlight a little bit to tell you how Business Wales could support in terms of finding potential funders. So what we do is we try to get an understanding exactly what your requirements are, and to help you navigate and identify suitable potential funders out there. With funding, there's always timelines. Funding and funders tend to come and go, different programs, different amounts, opening dates, closing dates, and so forth and so on. So what we'll try to do is to help you to identify suitable funding for your proposal. We will help you to support and help you to make that business case. Most of the applications that you'll be probably doing, funding applications that you'll be doing, will entail some kind of what is your business or what is the idea all about, that the market, potential customers, and so forth and so on. So what we'll try to help you to make that business case, maybe even prepare a business plan and financial projections or a breakdown of expenditure. And we'll also help you to provide ongoing business support and advice in order to commercialize your product and service. So, you know, once you get the funding, hopefully we'll continue with that support, continued support, in order to get your product out to the marketplace, help you identify potential customers and help you to approach those customers and so forth and so on. So that's what I wanted to tell you about today. Just a very quick, sharp introduction to Business Wales. For further information and details, this is our contact information. Please don't hesitate to give us a shout and explore how we could help you out. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rashad. I'm sure that many of the people in the audience will find that very useful. I would like to now hand over to Craig Sharp and Vanessa Davis from Horizon Europe.
Two secs, he says, making sure he's pulling up the right slides. Care Hub, bizarre. Okay, hopefully that's showing okay.
Brilliant. Thanks, Craig.
Right, okay. Okay. My name's Craig Sharp. I'm the UK's national contact point for the digital calls in Horizon Europe. What I'm going to do fairly quickly is just give you an overview of Horizon Europe itself, how it works, how it's put together, where your opportunities probably are just now and should be in the future, because obviously some calls are open and some are coming up. So I'll give you an idea of timelines as well. They'll also give you some contact details at the end. There will be a few of those. Don't worry about trying to work out which is which. Just contact the one that looks best and we can sort out any particular requirements, because you'll probably have opportunities across a number of areas. And just to reiterate, UK applicants are eligible to apply for funding. There isn't a problem with that at all. And some quick figures up at the top about what happened in the previous 7-year programme. So the UK was pretty successful and got quite a lot of funding and a lot of good projects out of that. It's a 7-year programme, so there's quite a way to run in this one. In terms of why I do it at all, everybody's going to have their own reason. It won't fit everybody, but one of the things I do, and colleagues as well, including some you'll meet out in the breakout sessions, we'll try and work out where your best fit is, and if you fit, great, and if you don't fit, we'll be quite clear about it, just so everybody's making the best use of their time. Funding rates, you typically you can get up to 100% of direct costs, basically, in the topics, with a flat 25% overhead. The higher TRL ones, typically TRL 5 to 7. If you're industry, you drop down to about 70% of direct. But the projects themselves are of a decent scale. Gives you more visibility at EU and a wider international level. It's a very good way of actually working with potential future partners and customers and learning more about the markets you might want to go into. A lot of people do it for that kind of reason as part of their company strategy in terms of growth. It can help with some of the grand challenges internationally. It certainly gives you access to a lot of technologies and talent and infrastructure that may well be different compared to what you can get to nationally. And there's a very clear role we see in organisations getting involved early in how the standards are developing, the regulations and the overall direction of what they're trying to develop. So it's a good way of getting a good head start and a good insight and very good connections, plus building your supply chains. This is the overall structure of Horizon Europe. Don't get too hung up about it, really. The likes of myself and colleagues can help figure out where you best fit within it. The obvious area is probably the health cluster at the top. So across the 7 years, that's got about 8.3 billion euros allocated to it. Obviously that chunks down, and I'll come down to that shortly. There's an area for digital within the digital industry and space. That's more about the technology development, a little bit less market specific, but you may find things in there. And in the top right, you've got something called European Innovation Council. Again, don't get too hung up on the precise terminology. I'll describe that in detail, but basically that's where you find the more open calls, and they tend to be open for bidding more frequently throughout the year, as opposed to just once or twice in a year. Looking at what's officially called the health cluster, basically a health work programme. So you normally get a 2 years worth of calls coming out at any one time. These are the subheadings that exist within the overall 7-year roadmap. So you'll see there's quite a bit of a mention of digital and AI throughout this. So these broad themes will keep recurring year on year. The precise topics may vary, but that's just to give you an idea of the kind of areas that typically sit within AI and digital. The bad news is the 21-22 work programme, the calls have now closed for that particular one, but we're moving on to the next 2-year cycle. This will be published later on this year for the 23-24 work programme, and that'll give you a 2-year forward look on what's coming up. So there'll be more time to plan and figure out where you fit best. It's that draft stage. It won't be published until we think late autumn, based on what we know at the moment, although some drafts may appear a bit more before that. The slides will be made available afterwards. The link gives a link to an external site where there is an early version. Now, note, it's an early version, it's an external source, it's not validated. Don't treat it as gospel. It will change, but it will give you an idea on the kind of things that are coming up in areas that might be of interest to you. So have a look through them. If any of them ring any bells or might be of interest, get in touch with us. We can give you a little bit more information. Plus the link itself will give you some. Just to put it into scale, project size varies. In this sort of area, it's collaborative research and development, so a mix of industry, academia, research organisations, public sector organisations. It can vary. The project sizes in European terms, a small project is usually 2 to 4 million. The bigger stuff can 5 to 7, 5 to 10 million plus. So it can go up in scale. There's a mission on cancer announced comparatively recently. I put this one up because there's a particular action round about the Cancer Patient Digital Centre. That's got a 23 timeline, but again, I can give you some contact details for people who can fill in a bit more information round about that and the timescales and what's involved.
Craig, sorry to interrupt, but I don't think your slides are moving forward.
Okay.
I think we're still on slide number 1. So
Right, it's going forward, and okay, that's weird. I've got it going forward, but you've got nothing?
No, we're still on slide number 1. Maybe if Priya could share.
Right. Okay, you want me to run back at all very quickly?
If Priya
Very quickly.
shares your slide and you just let us know what slide number we're on, we'll catch up with that. And then are we okay to share the slides afterwards for people?
Yeah,
and we'll be able to do that then. Okay. So you let us know which slide number we're on.
Okay, go to the next one. I'll run through that very quickly again, briefly. You should be. Yeah, okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, right. That one's the one about the health work programme. Go on. Okay. Okay. Right, we're settling on the health cluster one. Right, go forward from there. Next one. Right, stop there a moment, please. Thanks. Right, quickly again to recap. This is for the subheadings within the health work programme. So it's 8.3 billion over 7 years. That's just to give you an idea of the top level kind of areas within the AI and digital. As I say, the slides will be available afterwards. So next slide, please. Thanks. Slight issue is the 21-22 work programme's closed. We're now on to the 23-24 work programme that we expect that'll appear in autumn or so this year. There's a link there which will take you to an early leaked version. It's on an external site. We can't can't officially validate it, let's put it that way politely, because it's on an external site, but it's an early draft. That'll give you an idea on the thinking in the direction of the kind of topics coming up in areas that hopefully will be of use to you. If they are, please get in touch with us and we can give you some more information. We think that's one draft behind where it is at the moment, but anything there that's of interest to you, please shout or even just talk to us in the breakout sessions. Next slide, please. Thank you. Right. Cancer mission announced comparatively recently. That has a specific subheading on Cancer Patient Digital Centre 2023. Again, if that's of interest to anybody and you want more information, we'll leave some contact details at the end. It'll be the Health National Contact Point. You'll be dealing a bit more with that one. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. This is just a quick title slide. It talks about something called the European Innovation Council. That's where you tend to find more open calls that are actually available now, as opposed to autumn, or as opposed to having just closed. So next slide, please. Thanks. Okay, left-hand side of the diagram, 3 effective subheadings: Pathfinder, Transition, Accelerator, and as you'll see next to it, they're going up the TRL scales. So they split into 2 areas. One are the open types of calls going up in the TRLs, and on the right-hand side you'll see things called challenges, which are separate pots of money put aside if you're going into a specific challenge area. So the open ones by their nature are open. You bid into them, anything can apply. In terms of your basic subject matter. There's a few other conditions in the slide afterwards, but broadly they're relatively open to catch anything and everything. If you're used to applying into Innovate for Smart or something like that, you can think of it as being analogous to that. And if anybody applied into Horizon 2020 for the old SME instrument, the accelerator at the bottom is broadly that. Right-hand side of this are the challenges. So Pathfinder challenges, they're TRL 1 to 3. They can include DNA-based digital data storage, healthcare continuum, cardiogenomics. So there might be some possibilities in there. And the same in the transition side for talking about RNA-based therapies. Again, contact details at the bottom. I can go through these in a little bit more detail. Next slide, please. Thanks. This gives a little bit more detail about these calls that are relatively open and available a bit more throughout the year. Now, if you're looking at an EIC Pathfinder, that's the low TRL, TRL 1 to 3. Downside is the open one is closed for this year, should reappear next. However, the challenge ones in the TRL 1 to 3 are still available. They've got an October deadline. If you have a look in the text, it will say that the grants for the challenge area, you can request up to 4 million a project, potentially, if it's properly justified. You move into the mid one, the EIC transition, that's typically up to about 2.5 million, but you've got to have done something previous in that particular area under previous funding. The highest TRL one, the EIC Accelerator, again analogous to the old SME instrument, typically TRL 5 to 6. Don't get too hung up about a precise definition. It's up to you to justify it appropriately. It's typically up to about 2.5 million per project. Quite often a little bit smaller than that, but it's round about that kind of area. Both the open ones and the challenge ones have a deadline of October this year. So these ones are available just now, and there is support available round about this area to help you figure out if it fits with you and help refine your application. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Right, running over slightly. Right, support. There's a Horizon Europe unit within the Welsh Government. Vanessa will be about and joining in with the breakout sessions as well. Next slide, please. And there's a SCORE Cymru Fund to provide you with some financial assistance into building a consortia and potentially some aspects of actually having the pleasure of writing the bid. Again, Vanessa will be able to cover that in a little bit more detail in the breakout session. Next slide. General support, again, slides will be available afterwards, depending on where you are. If you're an academic, you have the research offices. There's national contact points across the UK. I've given details there for the specific national contact points in the health area, which will be the big future one, and EIC area as in the open one. And there's a range of other contact points as well, including the ones I've mentioned previously. And a few links at the end confirming the UK participation and the UK funding guarantee and a knowledge transfer network webinar, which will give you a lot more information about Horizon Europe. And final slide. Next slide, please. Thanks. That's it. Final slide. Just a quick mention about national contact points. We're replicated across other countries, so we can help build consortia and so on. That's it. And apologies for overrunning slightly.
That's brilliant. Considering you had to deal with a technology issue in the middle of that, I think that overrun is very forgivable, Craig. So thanks for that. Well, hopefully everybody found those two very interesting but very different presentations. So hearing from Business Wales about how specifically they can help your business with specific funding for what you're looking to achieve in your business and commercialization support, and then from Craig on the particular opportunities within Horizon Europe, those differences between the open and the challenge-based funding, and the indications that there's plenty of scope for digital funding within that. What we're going to do now is we're going to send you all off into one of two breakout rooms, which you'll be assigned into at random, and you'll find yourself there either with Craig and Vanessa, or there with Rashad, and then you'll have 15 minutes to kind of discuss the things that you've heard or anything that might be on your mind related to the presentations. And after 15 minutes, the person in the room with you will swap. So you'll get 15 minutes then with the other presenter. So Priya, are you ready to send people off into their little digital rooms?
I've just opened the rooms, Andy, so it'll just take a few moments.
Brilliant.
Am I back?
I think as is the nature of these types of interactions, we have been teleported out of our individual conversations into the larger room again. So
I thought perhaps I'd just been chopped in a bit too long.
That's right.
But yeah, we see Dan and a bit further along as well. We look at the individual applications really to see where you are.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much, Vanessa. That's really helpful. I hope everybody found those chances to have a chat with our presenters useful and informative. As always, we could do with more time, but fortunately the presentations and the recording will go out and we can follow up as well after the meeting. So brilliant. But moving swiftly on, because we have got rather a tight agenda today, so I'm going to launch straight into the next set of presentations. I just need to move my screen a little bit so that I can see my agenda. So coming up now over the next kind of 20 minutes or so, we have three quick presentations from Lydia Vitolo from Healthcare Research Wales, Rob Rowley from Innovate UK, and Nanette Bartram from Innovate UK Edge. So with that, I think I will hand straight over to Lydia. Lydia, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Apologies, everybody. My laptop has decided to restart 2 or 3 times during this, so I'm on my telephone. So if you can't hear me, please do let me know. And I think, can you see my slides now? I think Alan or Priya was going to share them. So
I can see them.
Yeah, it's just skim past the first one. Sorry, that's just a draft. And then the slide 2 is the one just to help me along the way.
Okay, I'm not sure if Alan or Priya, are you in charge of the slides? Could you move it to the next one?
Yeah, it should be moving. Can you let's try that again.
Anyway, while you do that, I'll talk. So I don't know how many of you would have heard of Health and Care Research Wales, but it might be helpful to say that we are kind of the Welsh equivalent of the NIHR and the HRA all wrapped up into one. So I'm here today. I'm not an expert on funding, I must admit, but I'm speaking on behalf of some colleagues in Welsh Government, one of them, Michael Bowdry, who isn't able to make today, but who would be a point of contact if you did have any follow-up questions or wanted to get in touch regarding the funding opportunities I'll tell you about. And those contact details are in the slide, so they'll be available to you. But I'm the Senior Industry Manager at Health and Care Research Wales, so really interested in the event today. And, you know, and obviously this area is of huge importance. And my role really is to facilitate, help oversee and sort of performance manage commercial research in Wales. I also get involved with sort of non-commercial academic projects as well. So really interested in projects which are going to have a sort of impact on patient, you know, on patient experience, patient treatment, etc. So I'm from Health and Care Research Wales, the Support and Delivery Centre. So our Support and Delivery Centre sort of houses a number of services, which if you're setting up research projects, you'll probably be all too familiar with. So we have things like a training department, which provides things like GCP training, informed consent training, and this kind of thing. We house the ethics service and the research approval service, which are, you know, things you'll need to have in place if you're conducting research, and particularly if you're conducting research in the NHS. We've got a communications department, which will help reach out to patients and industry colleagues and other sort of stakeholders, etc. And I'm from, I head up the industry team, which is part of our research delivery hub. So that's just a bit of general context. But on to today, really, and what is relevant for today's meeting is some of the funding schemes that are available through Health and Care Research Wales, Welsh Government. And, you know, there's a number of projects. They're not specific to artificial intelligence. They are broader project sort of grants, but I'll tell you about them and they may be of use. Hopefully they will. So the first thing are project grants. And first of all, we have a research funding scheme, which is aimed at two broad areas. So the first is a social care grant, and the second area is health research grant. So I'll just talk you through those briefly. I believe there's 2 pots of 1.5 million for each grant area, and they fund approximately 4 to 8 projects per call. So the social care grant aims to support capability and capacity building social care by funding high quality research projects with clear relevance to service users, carers, practitioners, and ideally aligned with Welsh policy aims. Some of the examples of projects which might be funded are things like evidence syntheses, pilot or feasibility studies, which will lead to future high impact research studies. They are open to a broad range of areas, but some of the priority areas are, children who are looked after, older people, and studies looking at diversity and equality. So that's the social care grant. As I said, we also have a health research grant. And again, it's looking at building capability and capacity in health research. So, you know, looking to fund projects with clear relevance in health research knowledge building. So projects could be to support the development or appraisal of new treatments, something looking at new interventions, or a project looking at service and delivery innovations. Any really, and also any activity that looks at improving health and well-being. So again, you know, it's open to a broad range of sort of areas, but some of the key areas that which they're hoping that projects will work within are COVID-19 impact on care service provision, and also learning from COVID-19, which can be transferred to other areas. So, you know, maybe you've done something during COVID-19 that's vastly innovative, and now that can be moved into cancer diagnostics, for example. For both of the grants, applicants must be based in an institutional organisation in Wales. So that's a little bit about the project grants. Additionally, we also have research for patient and public benefit, which you'll hear is abbreviated as RFPPB. And this is research related to day-to-day practice in health service, which has associated patient and public benefit. So it's NHS facing. So this is limited to those who are working within the NHS, and it's a pot of 1.2 million. And there is a 230k limit. A range of costs and sizes are encouraged in the applications. We also run a number of other schemes. So research fellowships from 3 to 5 years, which are salaried. We also run PhD studentships, and that's currently a live call. So unfortunately, as others have said, some of these calls which I've spoken about have ended now, and we're looking at 2023, but the PhD studentship is a live call. And lastly, the NHS Research Time Award, which again is aimed at those working within the NHS, but it's sessional time on an annual basis to provide health professionals the time they need to actually do research, where they're covered in their clinical duties or whatever duties they have, so that they can do the research. So that's a bit of a whirlwind tour, but we have got a lot more in-depth detail on, you know, who can apply, what you need to be doing, and, you know, the phases of the application process on our website, which is in the link at the bottom. But I hope that's been a helpful overview.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lydia. As with this morning's sessions, we won't take questions now because we'll be doing that in the breakout rooms. So with that, I'm going to hand straight over to Rob Rowley from Innovate UK. Sorry, Robert, you're still on mute.
Rob, you're still on mute.
Sorry, my Mac decided to have a little bit of a wobbler. Thank you, Andrew. I've got guitar envy, but we'll talk about that later.
Good little keyboard behind you, yes.
Yeah, we'll have a chat. Good morning, everybody. I'm the Knowledge Transfer Advisor for Wales. I'm not going to put slides up. I think we've had some challenges with that. I'm just going to talk through a presentation. There's so much to talk about. What I want to talk to you about this morning is knowledge transfer partnerships. Now, these are a great intervention that can really help a company. I run the scheme for South Wales. I've been with the Knowledge Transfer Network since July. I come from large experience of running innovation for large companies. So it's something I feel passionate about. But if you haven't heard about KTPs, what I want to do is just give you a brief overview of what they are and how they can benefit your business. Typically, a KTP, a knowledge transfer partnership, is exactly that. It's a three-way partnership. It's a company-led initiative, and the three legs of that partnership are the company, the associate who's going to be employed in the company doing the work, and a knowledge base. Now, the knowledge base is typically a university, but it can actually be a catapult as well as other institutions. Now, the aim of a knowledge transfer partnership is to do exactly that. It's to give a company, a small company, an SME or a large company, that ability to transfer knowledge from university through research and embed it into your company and make a big difference. Now, there are a number of winners in this. Number one, the company wins because actually you get access to university facilities, you get plugged into key research that's going on in the university, and you can transition that through into your business. The associate wins because actually what's happening here is you're developing an associate in a business. So it's the end of a KTP. They are a highly marketable commodity. And the university or the knowledge base wins because they're getting a transition of research, which helps them with REF, which helps them with teaching materials, which helps them build up their relationships with academia and business. Now, to put this into context, so just some numbers, there is about £280 million invested in this, which is industry matched by about 82 million. And this is currently adding around about 1.8 billion to the UK economy. So that gives a return on investment for about 8 to 1 for every pound that's invested in this. And currently it accounts to around about 5.5% of all UK RI projects. Now, the good news is that this is going to increase. The funding for KTPs is increasing. We've got 300, 400 at the moment. It's going to increase to around 500. There are 105 knowledge-based partners currently in the scheme. So that's universities and or companies. And we've got around about 800 associates places available active in KTPs at the moment. So it's a really well-used scheme. Just to put into context a little bit about that associate. So just take, you started a KTP, you've got an associate working in your business delivering this KTP. Now, typically they are around about 31 years of age. 65% have got higher degrees, so you're looking at kind of a PhD level associate. And the good news is that a vast majority are offered employment in the company at the end. So it's for recruitment, for staff, for skills. It's a great way of your company getting access to a really highly trained and motivated individual. Just to put into context what a KTP looks like, as I say, it has to be business led. It has to deliver value for the business. It's around about 12 to 3 years in duration. To be honest, 1 year really doesn't cut it. Time you've embedded an associate in your business. So the sweet spot is around about two years. And typically it's around about 90k cost per year to the company, but only pays 50% if you're a large company. And here's the good news: if you're in an SME, it's 33%. But Wales, if you're an SME in Wales, you only pay 25% because the Welsh Government are really great at supporting SMEs at the moment, and that intervention rate will run through until March next year. KTPs take two forms. There's a traditional one where you're like transferring technology into your business, but there's also something called a management KTP, an MKTP, and that's where you're looking at how you adopt your operations of your business, ideally suited for an SME where they're transitioning their operational. How do we deal with this industry 4.0? How do we get in export sales? How do we bring in dashboards? So rather than a traditional KTP where you're plugged into a science or research bit of an organization, an MKTP is typically you're plugged into the business school. Just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight, hot off the press. There's another scheme that's coming. I haven't got lots of details for it yet. As soon as they're available, we can share them. But AKTs, accelerated knowledge transfers, these are short, sharp 3-month interventions, 3 months, and that's typically where you take a PhD student, put them in your business for 3 months. Details on that coming shortly. So that there's lots to talk about KTPs. I've put my email in the chat. I'll make some slides available that give you more details, but in summary, my view of this is it's a three-way partnership that can take technology from a university, embed it into your business and make a real impact for you. And it's a great intervention mechanism. We've got lots going on in Wales, got lots going on in UK, ranging from artificial intelligence and cybersecurity through to kind of genetically modified pet food and diamonds rings. So, you know, it covers all things. So if you want to learn more about it, more than happy to talk to you afterwards. Hope that gives you a quick overview of what a KTP is. You should get involved in them.
Brilliant. Thanks, Robert. That was a really, really nice overview of the benefits of KTP. I've used them several times myself, and yeah, they're very, very good schemes. With that, I'm going to hand over to Nanette from Innovate UK Edge.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to try and share my screen, which I'm slightly scared of because I have slides and a Mac. Just bear with me. Can everyone see that?
I can. Brilliant.
And are the slides moving?
Yep, they are.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Winning the net.
Hi, Ruth. I just want to say thanks to the Life Science Hub for giving us the opportunity to speak today. So following on from Rob's talk about KTPs and Innovate UK, Innovate UK Edge is part of Innovate, and we're all part of UKRI. So to be clear, what we're doing with Edge is we don't give out funds. We're helping signposting to funding and helping companies to get through their funding opportunities. So Edge is the IUK's business resource for supporting SMEs. It's a national body. I think there are approximately 200 people like me in the UK called Innovation and Growth Specialists. In Wales, Edge is delivered by one company called BIC Innovation. We cover the whole of Wales. We've got a team in M-Spark in North Wales. We've got a hot desk at Aber Innovation, and also we've got a team in South Wales based in Bridgend. We're about a team of 15 people. We're all sort of senior level consultants who've either run their own business, sold their own business, or have some sort of C-suite level roles. So there's a real depth of commercial experience within the team. We've also got a diverse range of specialisms that can be drawn on to help the SME, and I've listed some here. So around marketing, regulatory, quality management. We've got some guys who run tech businesses. And we've also got a deep network of contacts between us all in Wales and throughout the UK. My own particular experience is as a life scientist, particularly around commercialisation of reagents and service products and services, and specifically diagnostic tests. Next slide. So through Edge, we deliver what we call the High Growth Project. And what this support really is we offer support to SMEs over a 6 to 18 month time period, so it's quite a long time, and it can be flexed to suit the needs of the clients. And the way the support is given is defined by what the actual client or company wants, so it's bespoke to the company. And we tend to work in a couple of ways. We can deliver specific packages of work in short bursts throughout this period of time. Just bear with me. And for those short bursts, we can work as individually with the company or as a team, depending on what the client needs are. And in terms of funding, which is obviously the topic of this meeting, we can support with grant funding, so that's signposting to new relevant grants. We do grant masterclasses for companies that aren't that experienced at delivering, making funding applications, and we can review grant applications as well. In terms of investment, we do pitch deck and business plan reviews. We can also help people by putting on informal panels for people to practice their pitching and get some friendly feedback before they actually have to do the other thing, the proper pitch, I should say. In terms of other packages of work which we offer commonly, we offer marketing support, commercialization support, and manufacturing, a whole range of things. Another type of support that we offer to clients, and they seem to really appreciate it, is where we act as a critical friend or an NED across this period of time. This is based on one of us having regular calls with a client where they can discuss any issue they're currently facing, and we help them brainstorm it, discuss it with them, talk about options, and connect them to appropriate contacts if that's required. We've been told by clients repeatedly how much they value this time out from their busy sort of SME lives, and you know, just using us as a sounding board has proved really helpful for them. One thing I would also like to stress is we also try and signpost to other support organisations in Wales, such as Business Wales and Horizon Europe, and also the Life Sciences Hub, where they've got better expertise than us. So part of our role as well is to support other Innovate programmes. So things like Global Business Innovation Programmes, or GBIPs in the jargon. And these are initiatives run to help support internationalisation. And the 4 listed there, I think, are currently live GBIPs, and they tend to be around specific countries and specific themes. We've supported Pitchfest Wales over the last few years, although I believe that is now being phased out into a broader investment readiness programme. We support Women in Innovation. We currently have two awardees in Wales, I think Polytag and Lucerne Scientific, and I'm supporting the latter. We also support the awardees of Young Innovators, which I think is two or three this year that we're supporting. And we also refer to Scale Up, where businesses are really looking to sort of scale rapidly. Some genuine feedback we've received from clients, and you know, to just attest to how positively they receive our support. Please do visit our website for more information, or I'm happy for you to contact me directly, and I'll try and help you where I can. That's it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nanette. In fact, that's such a useful and interesting programme that you put forward that I'm a little bit annoyed with myself that I wasn't really aware of you before. I, for one, will certainly be in touch in the near future.
Right.
Okay, so everybody, we are going to do exactly like we did in the first half of the session. We're now going to split out into those breakout rooms again, and you will either be find yourself in a breakout room with Lydia or in a breakout room with Rob and Nanette. Okay, and it'll be 15 minutes with each, and then our speakers will teleport over to the other group. Priya, are you ready to send us off to our little rooms?
Of course, one moment.
Brilliant. Okay, are we all back? I think we are. Okay, so, well, just to wrap up, really, just to say thank you very much to our speakers for some very, very interesting information. I've really enjoyed hearing today, hearing about how Business Wales can help with commercialisation aspects of uni business collaboration as well in the AI and the digital field, hearing about Score Cymru that can be used to build your relationships with partners, to use that as seed funding or next step development, leading towards those Horizon Europe grants. Hearing about those opportunities that exist within Horizon Europe, and the likelihood being that there will be potential there for AI and digital innovation within those fundings. Hearing about the benefits of the KTPs, hearing about all the things that that Edge has to offer. I think it's really been a fantastic and informative day. And thank you to all our guests who've come along and aided in the conversations with the rooms and kind of digging into those presentations in a little bit more detail. We did have we did hope to get EPSRC here today to speak as well, but unfortunately there was nobody available within the timescale. But I know my colleagues within the Life Sciences Hubs have some slides from those as well. So in the response to this meeting, we'll send out the slides and we'll send out the details of the speakers to everybody, and we'll include those EPSRC slides as well. Other than that, I don't think there's a great deal left for me to say, other than saying thank you and handing over to the Life Science Hub to see if there's anything that they want to add in at this point. So Deallusrwydd and Cole, anything that you want to reflect on?
Well, just because I like to have a bit of a poll, and I really hope that people got something out of the last couple of hours. I really appreciate all your input. I don't know if you can remember back to when we started at 11 o'clock. Andy asked us a question just to put a little note in the sidebar, just around how good is your current understanding of the funding landscape in Wales? So I'm going to ask that question again now, if you don't mind putting in a little score between 1 and 10, 1 being, oh, now I'm even more confused and I don't understand anything about funding in Wales at all, or 10, oh my, that was brilliant. I've got a full clue now as to what I need to do next in terms of working collaboratively with my colleagues in Wales. So I'll ask you to pop that in the side. And as Andy mentioned, we'll be sending out all the information that came about. We had some great notes popped into our breakout room, and we'll share them with everybody as well. We're really keen to respond to people in terms of topic that you'd like to cover. As Andy mentioned at the beginning in the introduction, that this was in response to a session we did in our artificial intelligence special interest group. So we're keen to put on events that respond to your needs. So if there's anything that you'd like to know more about, then please do get in touch and we'll see if we can facilitate that. So basically, yeah, that's all from me. I don't know if Sarah's got any more she wants to add to that.
No, that's all. Just to say thank you again to everyone for joining the meeting, and thank you to all our speakers. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you to everyone.
I can see there's no numbers really. Oh, it's one number appeared in the side. And so if we stay with that number, that means our average is definitely higher at the beginning. Other people maybe need some time to kind of take it all in and digest it, and maybe that awareness will be raised once you actually dig into those slides. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a brilliant rest of the day. We'll see you all again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.